Hi guys, welcome to the Yes You Pod.
The podcast where we put you back in community. I'm Emily.
I'm Evie, and today we're in the car. We riding with you. We listening with you.
We are on the road. We're on the move. I think it's so important that we do things like this because we are everywhere, guys. We are literally doing everything at all times, and so are you. So we just want to be here along with you guys. Hi Evie.
Hey girl.
I miss you.
Guys, I've been out of the country, and then I was in Florida, but not. I didn't even feel like I was in Florida.
No.
I was in Destin. It's beautiful. It's
Yes.
like mini Puerto Rico.
And literally it was because you were literally eating in the water.
I was eating barbecue ribs in the.
It was island girl.
I was just living my best life, and now I'm back, and I'm excited to be back. How are you? Emily's here in the flesh again as our last video, but I'm super happy that you're
We
here.
were literally, I got in the car and I'm like, I can't believe you're here. Like, I think it only clicked this weekend that I was like, wow, I'm in Florida again. But, oh my gosh, I've been so stressed out with like school stuff and everything. But we're done. So all the students out there, congratulations. Y'all did amazing. Y'all deserve
Yes.
a break. And all the students starting up summer programs, y'all are gonna do amazing. Keep
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Keep it. You got it. You got it.
Right.
But
I'm currently drowning, but it'll be good.
oh,
It'll be good. We're
she's
thriving.
wonderful. She's thriving.
We're thriving here. But no, I'm excited, and today it's random. Like it was the last minute little pod sesh, but yeah, we might go see The Little Mermaid after this.
Yeah,
I've
that's the
heard it's
plan.
amazing.
I saw the reviews this morning and it was like, I'm so excited.
I've been waiting since I saw that trailer like 2 years ago. It feels like maybe last year.
Yeah, it was like last year, but it feels like so long.
So shout out to Little Mermaid. If you've seen that, I want to see it. So I hope that we get to go. But other than that, we also received good feedback on our last video of mental health. So if you watch that, if you haven't, tune back.
Yes.
Go backwards in your episode.
Stop, pause this. Go back. And then go back.
Yes. And that was just awesome to have Juju with us.
Yes.
I miss her.
Juju. I miss Juju. I didn't see her literally 2 days, but I miss her.
Yes.
It's been so long.
Exactly.
It's been years.
Just so many years.
Yeah.
From your sister.
Yeah.
From your cousin.
Yeah. My cousin. I miss my cousin. But yeah, and so today we chose a very interesting topic that I think is so perfect that we're going to talk about this today because it's something that has both of us like hitting at our hearts, and it's been like said by other people that they want to see one. But today we're going to talk about comparison. And oh my gosh, if we know, who knows? It's something that I struggle with daily. I know Evie struggles with daily.
Yeah.
It's something that we all as a world struggle with because we all amount success on different levels, and
Right.
I think it's very important that we talk about this. And so I think we just get right into it, and I have a few questions that we want to get through.
Yes,
But what was your like earliest memory of comparison that you can
I think it starts when it might start when you're younger, only because just the way you develop into your child, like into the child that you are. If you don't know how to ride a bike, and all your cousins are riding bikes, like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Like little things can be like, oh, well, they know, but I don't know, and we're the same age.
Mhm.
But then that gets older, and it's like, wow, this person has a house, and I'm the same age, and I'm I'm trying to pay the rent, type of thing. So I think the earliest memory of comparison would be kind of like in the school setting.
Okay, yeah.
Of like maybe kids getting better grades.
Yes.
Like I'm horrible at math. I'm so horrible at math. But I remember being really bad and my mom having to like talk to my teacher and us trying to assess where the issues or what's it coming from. And then it just being like, well, that girl, she has an A
Yeah.
and I don't. And why? Like, am I not smart? And it's like the standard, like a comparison into like intelligence levels.
Yeah.
It's something that shouldn't be compared, but we kind of fall into it because
Right.
we're around like excellence or not that we aren't excellent, but you don't know how to like, uh, what's the word? Adjust to that or how to handle that.
Right.
Because people can say, you know, you can think like, oh wow, that's amazing, but it's not until someone says, oh, but what happened with you, like, or the little like that little
I
nudge.
know, I guess. Yeah.
So I think that would be mine. But what would be your earliest memory of comparison?
I think because growing up, I feel like the ages of like I didn't think I got very conscious of myself in my mind until like maybe fourth grade.
Okay.
So I was like before that, it was very much like I had this thing where, mind you, we're in my city right now. We in my city, but I don't live here. But here, it's like I grew up around the same people. I knew the same people. It was just like that. But I didn't care if you were, a little white girl. You were my sister. Like we were the same. And I remember I had this like. Also, I know we really talked about sisterhood and childhood besties.
Right, yeah.
It was like, but like I remember one time like I was like, oh, like that's my sister. Like I'm best friends with her. And my dad was like, you need to like realize that these students are not, and he was just, preparing me for the world, giving me advice, but he was like, you have to like realize that these like are other students that, you have to go a different way than them. Like you have to study more than them, like kind of that. And I think that was the first time where I was like, okay, like I need to realize that not that it's a competition, but you can be friends with people, but you still need to do like more or better to be, rememberable.
Exactly, yeah.
And I know his lesson was more about me being, Hispanic, darker skin, a girl, understanding that there are situations in life where I do have to work harder. And I think that was like, learning that at a young age. I think that's where it started, where I was like, oh, like, am I doing better than her? Or like, which level am I at with her? And so that's definitely like the first like memory that I have of it, but it continues to grow, like you said.
Yeah.
It's like it, develops as you get older, but honestly, it's something, cause I do feel like growing up, again, like I said, I don't think it was very sentient growing up, but I think also my family was like comparing me to other family members was also something that I experienced, which was
talk about it.
It was a minute because I remember like I've talked about like I was the only girl for like a minute, but I was also like surrounded around a lot of aunties. Like I had a lot of tias, so it was that like I was also compared to them. Like I was compared to adults as a kid, and it wasn't like something that I realized until much later. But I remember like, oh, like why was she like telling me that I was getting bigger at like 7 years old? Like my body was developing, and she was like, oh, like you're getting bigger. I was like, oh, okay. Well, then it's
like getting older.
Yeah, it was like one of those memories where it kind of sticks with you, but it is something that like it's one of those first memories you have.
Right, exactly.
But yeah.
That's a lot on a kid. And like you said, like it was great intention, like and it prepared you because it's so true. Like you don't realize it when you're little because we're so innocent,
right?
But not everybody thinks the way that we think. And like your friend could have even thought the way you did, but her parents probably thought different.
Yeah.
And that just it sucks that that's the mindset of the older generation at times. But that didn't define like who you were. It just means like, oh, like unfortunately even now like those standards still exist in schools, like or like or they'll like project the poster like dark skinned kid, like oh she did it, like of course she did it, like she can.
Oh my god, that's funny because I was looking the other day and there was like a headline that was like small town Mexican girl has the IQ of Stephen Hawking, and I'm like, yeah, why not? Why couldn't she? Like it's like of course it's a big deal because kids have like such high IQs, but this small town Mexican girl before has a higher IQ.
Yeah.
And I think that's such like a thing of like we are compared to our elders and their progress. And I think it's something that sticks with us because again we're like our minds will forever be developing. I think obviously scientists will always say you stop developing at this age, but I think we never ever stop developing our minds. We never stop having the opportunity to develop our minds. But yeah, I think that's like
That was so good. But that's just, it's crazy. Unfortunately, that's just what happens around us. But is that an area that you still feel that you are compared too heavily in, or is that something that now you feel like you've overcame a little bit? Is there something else that still heavily affects you in that way in terms of comparison?
I think personally, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course. And I could. You have 3 hours. How long is your drive? How long is your drive?
What's your ETA?
Yeah, what's your Because I was like preparing with this. I was like, I have so many things that I could like say that I compare myself to, just because it wasn't until like this year when I started going to therapy, or last year when I started going to therapy, where I was like realizing I've always been a person, or try to be a person,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, I don't care what people think. I'm gonna like go out, I'm gonna like dance in the street, I'm not gonna care. And that's like the kind of person that my family kept reminding me that I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard because I felt like I was being two people. Like on one hand, I was like deathly afraid of people like judging me. But on the other hand, I was like, no, like my parents always taught me to be this way, so I have to be this way.
Wow.
And so I was even comparing myself to myself. Because I'm like, on one hand, I do want to be a brave daughter. I want to be the girl that's not afraid to speak up. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm scared.
Exactly.
And I can't say that I'm scared because then I'm not that girl.
Well, yeah.
And so
Identity.
Yes, identity. It's like, definitely something that I compare my own identity to my perception. And so that's something, one. And then I think two, I think definitely I was, telling you that throughout the week, as we prepare with the podcast, it is hard to look at other people's progress and be like, you are starting out, and we've said before, like, we want this to be a space where we can not only give advice, but like we are still learning. Exactly. We're still growing, and we're still gonna make mistakes, and still gonna, we're gonna do what we are. But I think that's something that I have to keep reminding myself. Like, we're not just a real space. We are like the we space. Like, we are us.
Yes.
And that's something that I'm struggling a bit, but I am feeling a lot better recently about it. Just, comparing other people's progress digitally on social media.
Right.
Because perception is everything, and it shouldn't be everything.
Yeah.
But it's something that it's something that I count on a lot. But yeah, what about you?
I think what you said with social media was perfect. Mm-hmm. Because people are only posting their highlights. Right. They're posting their success. Mm-hmm. They're not showing you the failed attempts to start a podcast. They're not showing you how many times they fell before they could roller skate perfectly. Right. Like things like that. So I would say it would probably be family wise for me, only because yes, I'm in my 20s and it's beautiful. I love it. Like I still feel like I'm getting older, but I'm still like I have time. Like I have time, but I hate to compare and be like, oh well, like I mentioned earlier, like people are getting married, people have boyfriends, and this is all beautiful. Like shout out to y'all. I know. Congrats. Right, congratulations. You're graduating. Like that's all beautiful, and it's not that I can't. It just feels sometimes like we have a stopwatch as to when we're supposed to, right, like when we're supposed to meet this goal. But in reality, I remember seeing a post that I see all the time. It's like Oprah started the Oprah Winfrey Show at 30 something, like or like Steve Jobs like starting Apple in his garage after being fired from such and such company, like things like that. They kind of motivate you, and it's motivated me to be like, okay, like, you have time. It's all right. You don't have a business idea, but that doesn't mean you won't. Right. That doesn't mean that you can't, or just because you haven't done school doesn't mean you won't finish at all. Right. So I would say sometimes with family it could be tricky when you have like a lot of, again, like we talked about last week, siblings or family members the same age as you, and there's certain successes, because I'm such a like happy person, but then there's always that one little inkling that's like, can it have been you? And you're like, Like,
that's it. No, and I think that's so, you hit it, like, a couple things. One, you said, like, when people don't post their failures, I think that's, for me, something that's, like, people will always be like, there's always tutorials on YouTube to do things, like
right.
anything. Social media, style, how you look, there's always tutorials, but when people who are successful don't show their failures, it makes you feel like, how am I supposed to know how to get there if you don't tell me?
Yeah, they're gatekeeping.
Yes, the gate. And that's like,
I'll be a gatekeeper. Help
listen,
us.
help us and we'll help you. Like, that's everything that we learn. I feel like I love that. If I learn something, I want my friends to know about it. Music, that's a different conversation. Listen, sometimes I like my artists smaller, but
Yeah.
that's something different. If we're talking about something that can help each other, like school, I'm always like, hey, did you know about this program? There's free tutoring. There's
Yes,
free this.
Emily
free
literally helped me do
testing.
my whole assignment last night.
Yeah, and
11:59. I was like,
we were,
and
we
I
were
turned
ready-
12:04, but it's fine. It's fine. Emily helped
No,
me. She
it's
was
fine.
there.
It was like we were writing a letter to a senator.
We had to write a letter to the senator. I don't even want to talk about it, but I
No,
sent it
but
in.
yeah, we did it.
We did
and
it.
It was like,
We did it. I should have put her name on the paper.
collaborate. No, but it was like, I think that's who we are, and that's what we
Yeah.
learn to be. And when people try to be, and I think it is part of that. Like, me personally, if I put myself in the mindset of like, I have this aesthetic, like I'm a rich girl, I'm like this and this and that, I want it to be exclusive. And I mean, it's a sad thing, but like, I understand the mind of someone who is successful.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we have the opportunity to change that.
Right.
Of like, wherever we go in life, wherever we end up, I think it's important for us to now start with the, hey, you need help? Oh, we have this, or look at this program, or look at this space, or like things like that. And so, you hit on the nail with that. And also, like, family is such, girl, yeah, everyone's doing things right now, and it's so crazy because it's like, I was in a call with a few of our friends, and I was like, you know what? For years, I felt like, no, I'm not gonna get married till like down the line. And sorry, mom and dad, but you know what? I was like, what if I literally got married next year? Like, what the heck?
Come on.
Can you like imagine it? Like, that's great. Like, I'm turning 18. Like, I want to go to college or whatever. Like, what if God showed me like the man like tomorrow, and he set up everything in place that I got married? And I know my mom's like rebuking right now.
She's like,
I know, I know, but like,
she's commenting right now. She's like,
timestamp, absolutely not. But
we'll keep that in prayer.
yes. The other day I was like, I told her something and she was like, it's not gonna happen because I already prayed about it. I was like, oh, okay. That's my mom. God, I love my mom. But
I love you. Shut up.
I love mom. But watch out for her. She's gonna be on an episode. See us.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Little
sneak peek.
Little
Yeah.
secret.
But so yeah, and I was just like thinking that just because like you do see people doing things the way you want it, how you want it, and you're like, I want to follow exactly in their footsteps because I want exactly what I want. But you can't.
Yeah.
You simply can't. And it's the truth of that. We all are not necessarily looking for perfection, but each other, like each other's lives. Like, we do want to live each other's lives. I think that's, we love each other and we see the successes of others and we do want to celebrate others, but we also like, God win. Me too.
Yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah, and so I think it's important, and it's like, it's just how we feel as humans.
Right.
And it's part of our faults, but I think it brings us together in a way, because it does bring the other side of it, of like, it gives us the opportunity to help others,
right?
Help others. And I was like, while we're writing this and everything, I had a question that it hit me, but I also think it's very important to dissect a bit.
Okay.
So, what do you feel like threatens you a lot in life? What challenges your thoughts? What do you feel like do you have to lose? And how do you like battle that when it comes?
when we first were like talking about this, I didn't know how to answer. You know, I didn't know how to answer the question. I was like, there's no, I don't understand. Like, I understood the question, but I'm like, how do I explain?
Yeah.
And it's literally what you were just talking about earlier when you were saying there's this one part of me that is the go-getter, is the girl's girl, is what my parents brought me up to be. And there's that one part of me that battles to be it and that is scared. And I think for me, that's it's more of just what threatens me is myself, is my mindset, is image, is yes, I'm a Christian, I'm on the worship team, I'm this and that, but there's so many things that I feel like are prohibited in my life that, and it's not bad. I understand, and I talk about this a lot with people because I'm like, how can you be yourself with restriction?
Yes.
And that goes into comparison too, because I'm like, there's people that they might be doing the same thing as you, they just aren't publicizing it, or they just aren't talking about it the way that I'm talking about it right now. And so I think my image, like, or title, or fill in the blank, haunts me in that way, because it's like, we know, or I know who I am.
Right.
And God, I know who I am as a friend, I know who I am, but then there's this other part of me that sometimes I want to chill out.
Right.
Like, I want to listen to my music. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be a girl's girl. I want to go out with my friends.
Yeah.
And so it's comparison, like, wait, but that's not how I'm supposed to be. So it's confusing. It could be confusing.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not something that I'm letting stop me, because I don't like to say, like, oh, God knows my heart, type of thing, because then that's not an excuse. Like, He knows all of our hearts.
Yeah, He does.
But it's more of it's me. Like, I want to be authentic. I want to be true to who I am. And I know people can relate to that, because we're not perfect. We're so messy. We're so messy. And I mess up every day. And just because we're here talking with a little mic, like, we're not nobody.
No.
And we have our struggles, but I think that would be what threatens me most, is just that title of being a perfect Christian.
Yeah.
In all reality, to sum it up, like, the perfect Christian title. Like, that's not, no one falls into that category.
Right. No, but I think knowing you, and we've talked about it before, like, I feel like if described into words, it would mean like we are many different people in one.
Right.
Not that we are fake or three-sided. Like, it just means that we have a lot of ambitions, a lot of goals that spread out and intersect, and it's a whole system. Like, we're not just one linear person.
Right.
And I agree. Like, it is hard to balance, like you said, like hanging out and living life. It's not, you're not committing crime.
Right.
You're
Right.
not, being a terrible person or a terrible human. You are living your life.
Yeah.
You are doing what you want. And I think there is kind of like a perception online, and like I said, unsolicited advice from some people that would like to say, like, maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe this and this and that. But they don't see the hours that you spend praying.
Right.
They don't see the hours that you spend on, reading the word and getting connected with God. And they don't see the time spent doing ministry.
Yeah.
And they're fine with that. That's not a problem. But once you step out of line of what they perceive you to be, then it's like, oh, like, you're gone. Like, you're done. Like, it's like, and so it's hard too, because it's like you said, identity. You are kind of like fighting with yourself. I think it's such a common struggle, and I just wish we talked about it more. Like, I wish someone, like, it was such an open conversation, because it's so true. Like, I want to stay connected to God, but it's also like, I do want to live my life.
Right.
And I want to be with my friends, and I also want to be with my family, and I also want to be more than just this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people relate Christianity to normality, in a sense, instead of Christianity can also mean success. It can also mean like pushing the boundaries, pushing the barriers. I don't think like Christ will always be the same, but also Christ grows within us. And I think it's so like uh, not that we are against God, but it's so like, I guess, yeah, like anti God to think that we are supposed to say the same in Christianity.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to say, like, with the same Bible verses repeating, with the same preachings repeating, and not grow and not expand as people. And so, yeah, that was a little tease, but
She preaching.
it is no,
Stay
but
tuned for our
it
next
is,
series.
yeah, but it is stuff that it's like, it's hard to hear because it's something that it is very theological and it goes into the word, but it is true. I think that it would be to deny our own humanity,
Yeah.
to say that we need to be cookie cutter. Um, but yeah, and I agree. Like it is something, but I think I was also telling you that I have a few adventures within my life, and I've gathered a couple friends, and I think something that threatens me is, I guess, like, yeah, like other people's success. And I've told you, we are travel girls. Whether we have money or not.
Oh yeah, we're going.
We will be.
It's on the account now, but
Yeah,
we're going.
Yeah, we're going. Whether the flights are booked or not, we're going. So, and it's like one of those things where it's like I find myself watching people, travel the world and be out there, and like I have friends who are, getting all the success, and it does not because I want what they have, but is it like, will I ever reach what I want? And it's that like, God, I don't need to be exactly like them, but I want more than this kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I will forever be grateful in every season, but it's also like I do want success. And like I said, like why not? Like why would you not want to grow?
Of course.
Why would you not want to, not just financially, but in relationships, in your life? Why would you not want to grow? And I think that's something that it does threaten me a bit in the sense of like, will I ever make it? Or will you choose me for that assignment of spreading out, of going out? And that was a lot, but
no, but that's so good, and obviously it has to do with like the comparison of timeline. Like not everybody's timeline's gonna look like yours, but not everyone's calling is like yours. And we've had this conversation so many times because Emily and I be going off on FaceTime, but they have a different assignment than you.
Yeah.
Like your assignment is so different, and your personality and your lifestyle is so different. But I'm not trying to cry, but like we all have different callings, and there's so many times where I've looked at people and I'm like, wow, I want to be just like them. Like I want to, work from home, and actually I don't want to work. I don't want to work, and I want to just travel and be on the red carpet and have all the glamour. But sometimes God's like, no, I need you to pick up a mic and I need you to sing. I need you to minister, and you have to be, oh, okay. Like your assignment is different.
Right.
And sometimes our dreams don't like what God has planned for us, but sometimes God's plans are so much better.
Yeah.
We gain so much with what we're doing, with what you're doing. Like you don't know the impact that you'll have on people. That yes, all the traveling and the success is all so beautiful, and that doesn't mean it's not gonna happen.
No.
But it might be that people are going now for leisure, but that might be that you're sent.
Yes.
Like,
come on.
You want to go to Brazil? Like, I'm gonna send you to Brazil on a mission.
Yes.
Like,
that's good.
You're gonna do a podcast in Brazil. Like,
come on.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's doing it with a purpose, not just because we want to.
Right.
And I think a lot of the times we correlate all the fun and all that, and it's good to relax. Like, I'm so glad that I've had to have a little bit of a break the past week.
You deserved it.
Thank you. But it's still hard to be like, you have to be like, oh snap, like I'm here and there's purpose still.
Right.
Like we have to still, you know, fill each other up. We still have to be there for each other. We still have to like. So yeah, even though people have those experiences, or your callings and the callings that God has, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare at all. But do you also, because I know that you feel that way with your friends, do you feel like anybody has ever been compared on the opposite side? Like, has anybody been like, oh, well, look at Emily. Like, look at Miss Emily over there. Like, what is she doing in New York? Like, what's Emily doing Emily's in Puerto Rico right now. Like, why can't you be like
Come on.
Emily? Like, you know, like, has that ever happened to you?
Yes, and sometimes it does like make me feel good because it's like you want to be hyped up,
Right.
but sometimes it could be on like the bad end. I feel I have been in those moments where it's like it becomes almost addictive.
Right.
Like it's yeah, it's like let's there you go. It's almost like addictive to get that attention from also like from other parents.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
I love a good mom compliment.
Like, oh my gosh, like the other day we went to like the hair salon and these like aunties were there and she was like, "Your hair is so beautiful," and I was these southern aunties. I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you," and it was like 5 days old hair, and I was
right,
and it was like such like because it was like you like I said when you are in front of like elders or older generation, not like elders like old people, but like people that came before you when you are given that satisfaction from them or like that approval from them, it's like it feels good because it's like, oh, if they made it, then like they think I'm excelling.
Right.
And so it does get a little like it just bring out that competitive side of me and like academically more is what hits me. Like I feel like I do work hard academically, but because of that. Like that one compliment that's like, wow, you did amazing. And it hurts too because a lot of times I've in the past compared to my friends and even like my brother. And that for me was like, I don't want to be used as like a weapon for people.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
And that's something that not to be like, oh, I feel so, guilty because I'm, doing good, but it's like, I hate how there's not room for everybody to be at their own levels. It's like I've always said that, like, um, when we look at, not to go in that, but when you look at the patriarchy and you look at the spaces that we have for women, it's always like we have to compete for one space. But then there's so many seats for the others, for men who are always in power. And I feel like that's the same with like that, ageism concept. It's like all these, the older people all have the room, but the young ones all have to fight for one space. And it's like only the best will make it instead of why can't we all make it? Why can't we all, measure our success in different levels? And like why is it level? Why can't it all be just success?
Exactly.
And I think it's something that I've been and it's nice to hear. Right. But I do feel like guilty when that happens because it's almost like I am that weapon, I am that trigger for people. And the last thing I want is anyone to feel like they're not enough because of me. And it is a burden that's put on many people.
Right.
But yeah, how about you? Because Miss Evie, you got a lot. You got a lot under your belt.
No belt on today, but a lot. What you said was so good. Being a weapon. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're the freaking dartboard, and you're just. And that happens a lot more than I would like it to, unfortunately. It could be mentally, it could be within ourselves, but it could be the other side talking, it could be the family talking. But like you said, sometimes we're the opposite, and sometimes, people are using our names to be like, oh, look at Evie, she knows how to pray. Like, oh, look at Evie, she did modeling one time. For 1 month. Yeah. Or you're so outgoing, I want to be like you. And that type of stuff, you don't see it as a compliment in the moment because you're like, oh, I didn't notice that about myself. Like, I have a family member who we get compared to all the time. But then she'll go to me and she'll be like, oh, I wish I was so outgoing like you. And I was like, girl, really? I wish I was you. I'm trying to be like you, mama girl. Like, I'm just trying to get like you, literally trying to get like you. So many ways, in so many ways. But it's hard because it drives competition within the person and the other person, and it sucks. There's not a competition happening, but it could be like mentally you just think, oh, this is happening, I don't like it, and it can make you feel. It makes you feel bad. Like it makes you feel bad that people are using your name to not promote hate, but just bring hate
Yeah.
onto another person.
Yeah.
And like you said, there
Bring
shouldn't be
comparison
any,
onto people.
yeah, there shouldn't be no benchmark of like,
No.
or timeline, or it could all be success. It could all be that we're just trying.
Right.
Um, but there have been times where people have said that, and like, oh, I can't, I've heard it, and I'm like, oh no, like I'm nothing, like
Yeah.
I'm not all that, like, and everything goes back to God in the end because we're just really trying our best, but
And I think
that's it.
you said something there where it's like you are used as the example, but that's also the pressure for us. Like once you leave that example, once you falter, oof,
Hmm.
that hits me
Like you go
more.
from being an example to being like the problem.
That's like, oh my gosh, have you seen that? It was like the gifted kid turned like burnt out dropout kind of thing. It was
No, I
like
haven't
because
seen
I
that.
was um, it's such a call out because in school I was like in a gifted program. It
Okay.
was like stuff like that. And it was like that meme where it was like, oh, and then they turn like burnt out like theater kid or something like that.
Okay.
Where it's
Yes.
like they did,
Yes.
but it's that like we as kids were put up to, mind you. Why are we trying to solve why Cassie had 20 tomatoes and 30 apples and what was
We would
the
never know.
square root of that? Like,
The world would never know.
and it's like we are not taught how to use practical problems in the world. We are taught how to be better than everybody else and how to success more and how to know more. And mind you, exams, tests, that's all for memory tests, not
Yeah.
knowing.
Because I don't know nothing. I
Exactly, me
promise.
neither. You think I remember? I just finished school 3 weeks ago. You think I remember that? No, but it was because in the moment I remembered, and that was measured my success. That measured my grade, my level, my status. And so I think that's very, once you start faltering from that and start, I remember when I got like my first. I still remember because it was so traumatizing. When I got like my first D in elementary school,
Oh.
and it was because it was like
Goodness.
on like a, it was like a 5 question test, mind you. Again, elementary school. It was like a 5 question test, and I got like 3 wrong.
Yeah.
And so I got my first day. I remember like my parents sitting me down, and I know it's because they do want me to excel. And they want
Right.
expect a lot. But it was also like something that was like, oh, like I can't falter, like I can't stop
I can't
being
mess up.
great, or
Yeah.
else I'm nothing. And so I think that's something that I still struggle with today.
Hmm.
Like in everything, in school, in relationships, if I'm not number one, then I'm nothing.
Mm.
And I think specifically friendships that's hit me. Now I'm like chill. Like I'm like I want to be friends with everybody. I don't care status or how much we
Right.
talk. Like I want to know everybody. But that for me in the like I feel like even like 2 years ago, like I was struggling with that. Like if I'm not like your best friend, then I'm like nothing to you. Or if
Mm.
like I'm not, the favorite the favorite child, then I'm not like then I'm not nothing. But it's like
Mm.
it's those things that do, I feel like, hit us.
Right.
And I know, like I remember when you were doing like your modeling, and I was like so like upset. I'm still very obsessed with you, but like I was like damn, like I wanna, like I wish I could do, like I remember I was telling you like, oh, I started out, I did like one like tryout one time at
Yes,
a
I remember you
mall.
told me.
Yes.
Girl, I did the same tryout at the mall. They never call me. They never call me.
But I think it was like we tried, and then my mom was like no, because they were like we had to like pay them or
So
something.
expensive.
Yeah. And
Expensive
so, but
life.
I was like still remembering that. I'm like, oh, what if I did do that? Like, how
Mhm.
different would my life be?
Right.
And so it's crazy to even like compare to your own past selves, your past opportunities. So
That is
that's
some spicy news.
that's tea.
So much tea.
But I think we have covered a bit today.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice for people who are struggling with these thoughts of comparison and competition?
My advice would be, uh, just stay looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about who's on side of you. Everyone's running the race, but don't be distracted
Right.
because you're gonna trip
Yeah.
and you might fall. And
Yeah.
you might fall looking forward. But it's just way easier. And you have to just remember, like what God has called you to do.
Right.
Just, put everything in his hands and just really look forward. I think my advice is just that don't be so obsessed with people that you forget what God is doing in your life, or you disregard what He's called you to do.
Yeah.
There might be words that have been spoken, and it could seem like, oh, God when, or they already got theirs. How come I haven't got mine? Type of word. Another story.
That, yeah.
But it would just be that. Just don't waver.
Yeah.
And if you do a little bit, it's okay. But just that. Keep moving forward. What would be your advice?
I think something that I remember being in Puerto Rico, and I was on like a little road trip with my mom, and we were talking about it. I remember like crying to her because I was like, I think that also comparing myself to other people, but also in like a bad way, in the sense of, oh, if they're that great and they couldn't do it, how could I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think my thing was like, would I be able to be the first?
Well,
do I have it in me to be that first person?
Mm-hmm.
And I think my advice to anybody is be brave enough to be that first person, to be the pioneer. Like, why not? Why couldn't you? God has parted seas, has raised dead. Why couldn't He deliver you? And I think we were listening to a song earlier, and it's like, well, yeah, like a snippet. It was like, when did I start believing like you couldn't do it? When you didn't have the power. And I think it's just have the bravery to believe in God. Have the trust to believe in God that He can make you the first. If you are struggling to start a podcast, a YouTube, a talk show, do a cover, say a testimony, anything, I think do not put yourself on the blueprint of what others have already done. Make your own blueprint.
Exactly.
Be your own blueprint. And I think that's important, and I encourage everyone who is, starting out, doing their own thing, just do it. Just do it. And I know it's like, do it scared, do it, but like also, be the first.
Yes.
Be the first. Be brave enough to be the first.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I'm like preaching today.
No, but like, I just felt it. The Spirit. It's talking to me too. I'm speaking. I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could say that. I was like, I didn't know I knew that.
That was for me.
Yeah, that was for me. No, but I just want to say that we love you guys.
We love you guys so much.
This has been so amazing, and we're gonna do so many more podcasts. You'll find us in the freaking amusement park. You'll find us in a freaking garden and a picnic. And yes, we're gonna be everywhere because I think we're gonna reach a different audience.
Oof.
We're trying to reach
all
everybody.
the audiences.
All the audiences. Yes, all the audiences. But we love you guys.
We love you guys. Make sure to follow us.
Yes.
On Instagram at YesYouPod. Mm-hmm. On TikTok, YesYouPod. On YouTube, subscribe.
Yes.
I think you can now reply and put what you liked about this episode or what you thought about this episode on Spotify. So please.
And on YouTube.
We want to see what you're saying.
Apple Music, the podcast.
Yes.
So you can literally find us anywhere if you want. Text us. Hello.
Yes, DM us. What do you want to hear?
Please. We love to hear you guys. We love to talk about what you guys want to talk about. But we hope this was a great episode. We hope you got to your destination safe and sound. Yes. But yeah, we love you guys. And
we love
see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.